Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we are celebrating the appearance of Lord Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Last night we had our Pushyabhishek flower festival. How many of you were here for that? Hare Krishna. Srila Narottam Das Thakur compares the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda Prabhu to the most soft, fragrant lotus flowers. Nitai Padakamala Koti Chandra Shushitala Ye Chayaya Jagata Judai Heno Nitai Bine Bai Radha Krishna Poite Nai Drida Kori Daro Nitai Pai. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight, not only of one, but of millions of moons. If the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter of Lord Nityananda. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. If one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Se sambandha nahi ja prita janma kelo thar se pasu boro duracha Nitana bolilo mukhe majilo samsara sukhe vidya kule ki kori beta. Anyone who has not established his relationship with Nityananda Prabhu is understood to have spoiled his valuable human birth. Such a human being is actually an uncontrollable animal because he never uttered the holy name of Nityananda. He has become merged in so-called material happiness. What can his useless education and family tradition do to him? Ahankari mata hoya nitai pada pasariya asatyere satya korimani nitayera karuna habe braje radha krishna pabe Dharonitai charana dukani. Being maddened after false prestige and identification with the body, one is thinking, oh, what is Nityananda? What can he do for me? I don't care. The result is that he is accepting something false to be truth. If you actually want to approach the association of Radha Krishna, you must first achieve the mercy of Lord Nityananda. When he is merciful toward you, then you will be able to approach Radha Krishna. Therefore, you should firmly grasp the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Nitai yera charan satya tahara sevaka nitya Nitai pada sada koro as Narthamo podo duki Nitai mori koro suki Rako ranga sharanirapas. The lotus feet of Nityananda are not illusion. They are a fact. One who engages in the transcendental loving service of Nityananda is also transcendental. Always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. This Narottam Das is very unhappy. Therefore I am praying to Lord Nityananda to make me happy. My dear Lord, please keep me close to your lotus feet. Parama Karuna Pahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Saba Abathara Sara Siromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. The two lords, Nitai Gaurachandra, are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations. The specific significance of these incarnations is that they introduced a process of chanting and dancing that is simply joyful. Baja baja bhai, Chaitanya Nitai, Sudrida Vishvashakori, Vishaya Chadiya, Sera Se Majiya, Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari. My dear brother, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, one has to give up his engagement in sense gratification. One simply has to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, without any motive. Deko ori pai tribhuvani nai, emana to yala tata, Pashupaki chure pasana bitare, Suni Chandra Gunakata. My dear brother, just try and examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda. Their merciful qualities are so great that upon hearing them, even birds and beasts cry and stones melt. Samsari Majiya, Rohili Poriya, Sepadina Hiloa, Apanaka Rama Punjaye Samana, Kahoye Lokshanta. But Lochandas regrets that I am entrapped by sense gratification. Since I have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, then Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by this movement. Two beautiful prayers by Narottam Das Thakur and Lochan Das Thakur. They are giving us a glimpse into the great treasure that has descended into this world in the form of causeless mercy. Causeless means that which is thoroughly undeserved, but comes by the power of the kindness of the Supreme Personality of God. Rupa Goswami, who lived in Vrindavan, worshipped Sri Sri Radha Govinda and manifested the most loving pastimes of Radha Krishna. When he met Lord Chaitanya at Prayag, he prayed, Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratveshe. Krishna's all incarnations are included within Krishna. He is Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. But yet when Krishna appears as Lord Chaitanya, he is even more munificent, more merciful than Krishna himself. How is it that Krishna can be more merciful than himself? Can any of you be more merciful than yourself? Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. Krishna revealed the intimate pastimes of Vrindavan, the highest and sweetest revelations of love in the spiritual world. As Lord Chaitanya, he came to distribute that love freely within this world. He compared himself to a gardener who had limitless fruits. These were the fruits of Prema Bhakti, intimate, sweet love of God, according to the residents of Vrindavan. And Lord Chaitanya came to distribute these fruits of love of God to the world. And because in the Kali Yuga, virtually no one can pay the price, he's giving them freely. Just accept it. Just open your heart to accept it through these simple instructions, and I will give. Lord Chaitanya, he requested all of his devotees, please accept this fruit of love for Krishna wholeheartedly. Taste it and be happy forever. And then help me to distribute these fruits to others. Para upakar. In fact, in this section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he especially requests the people of India to take this very seriously. Because the real wealth of love for Krishna is realized when we share it with others. When Lord Chaitanya was personally present here, he manifested this principle of mercy, compassion, in its utmost realization through Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Who is Lord Nityananda? He is the first expansion of Lord Chaitanya. It describes in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, according to the Siddhanta of the Puranas, the Vedas, that the one absolute truth has inconceivable potencies, achintya shakti. In the spiritual world, beyond material existence, the paravyoma, where everything is Satchidananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. This material existence, from the highest planet to the lowest, Abrahma Bhuvana Lokar, are places where ultimately time causes everything to be destroyed. Dukalayam Ashashvatam, where the planets, the mountains, the oceans, everything has a beginning and an end. What to speak of our little bodies? Old age, disease, death are certain. As soon as someone is born, we know for sure that that body is going to die. And whether it's 10 years or 20 years or 100 years is not so much of a difference. Shukadev Goswami tells that the real greatness of life is the quality of our consciousness. Even one moment of full consciousness is infinitely more valuable than a long, long life just wasted over superficialities. So in this spiritual world, beyond material existence is the Brahma Jyoti, the impersonal Brahman, where many jnanis and types of yogis aspire to enter into mukti, or the liberation of the deathless, complete peace of Brahman. But we learn from the Vedas and from the Acharyas, this is a partial realization of the supreme truth. Beyond Brahman is Parabrahman, Bhagavan, the supreme personality of Godhead, who is Rasa Bihari, whose eternal existence is simply for the pastimes of loving and being loved, who is Gopinath, who is forever the Lord and the life of his loving devotees. In that abode of Sri Vaikuntha, where these pastimes are forever taking place, there are various spiritual abodes. And the most inclusive and intimate, our scriptures reveal, is Goloka, where Lakshmi, Sita, in her fullest form, is eternally performing her pastime of Sri Radha with Gopinath. Sri Radha is the Hladini Shakti, the pleasure potency of Krishna. That means all of Krishna's pleasure comes from tasting the love of Radha. And all of Radha's love comes from tasting the sweetness and the happiness of serving Krishna. And the two together, Radha Krishna Puranaya Vikritir Hladini Shakti Rashman, are the one absolute truth and the source of everything that exists. All spiritual and material worlds are emanating from that one truth, who are eternally in the pastime of lover and beloved, the Ashray and Vishai Vigrahas. But Krishna, in order to facilitate the highest and sweetest love forever, beyond any of our intellectual imagination, has expanded his entire abode. His first expansion is Balaram. It is Balaram that manifests the spiritual world. It is Balaram that expands as Narayan in Vaikuntha. It is Balaram, who at the time of the creation of material existence expands as Karunodakshayi Vishnu, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, the Lord who is seated within the heart of every living being. But Balaram is forever in the mood of the servant of Krishna and Radha. He is Krishna, but forever in the mood of a servant. And therefore Balaram is called the original guru, because this is the function of a guru. Through example, through teachings, through mercy, to teach the path of service to Krishna. Pleasure to Krishna. Balaram expands himself in every single possible way imaginable to facilitate the wonderful pastimes of Krishna and Sri Radha and all of his devotees. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared within this world in his most munificent mood of giving love of God freely, Nityananda, or Balaram, appeared as Lord Nityananda, as the original guru, to teach by his example. So when we hear the prayers of Narottam Das Thakur as we are reading today, we understand it in this spirit. He's speaking a very, very deep and wide understanding of who Nityananda Prabhu actually is. Today being his appearance day, I will speak briefly about his appearance. Kaviraj Goswami in the scripture Chaitanya Charitamrita tells that before Lord Chaitanya appeared, before Krishna came in this form, he sent many of his eternal loving associates to prepare the way for him and to share his wonderful mission with him. There's a village in the area of Radhadesh called Ekachakra. And there was a very learned and loving-hearted Brahmin, Hadai Pandit, as well as Padmavati Devi. They were married. They yearned for a child. But for many years they had no child. It is explained that in that village of Ekachakra, long before generations, there were so many pundits and scholars who were residing there. And they all, from their study of scripture, they proclaimed that someday the supreme, all-merciful personality of Godhead, Balaram, will take birth in Ekachakra. And people were waiting for that time to come. Generations passed. This was the legend that someday Balaram is going to live here. And it was on this day, the 13th day of the waxing moon of the month of Magh, that from the womb of Padmavati, a little child was born. But no one even considered that this is the fulfillment of the prophecy. Because Nityananda Prabhu, he wanted to play as a child and have intimate relationships with everyone in the village. He did not want them to see him in his supreme majesty as God. That would have disturbed the free flow of relationship. But when he was born, he had a lovely golden complexion, and his every limb enchanted everyone's hearts. The people of Ekachakra, they just couldn't stop looking at him. They wanted to sing for him. They wanted to touch him. They wanted to hold him. There was one Brahmin, he explains to Janava and the devotees later on, that one day I was in so much anxiety. The material world was beating me down. I was so frustrated. And I went to the house of Padmavati and Hadai Pandit, and this little tiny child, Nitai, he crawled up to me and jumped in my lap, and as soon as I touched him, I felt transcendental bliss. All anxieties disappeared instantly. That was his effect on everyone. They named him Nityananda. They called him Nitai. Sometimes Nitai Chand, because he was like a moon, just spreading soothing rays on everyone's hearts. The whole of Ekachakra, everyone of all ages, they simply, their lives revolved around the happiness of Nitai. And Nitai's whole life was just giving happiness to everyone. As he grew a little older, 4 or 5 years old, he would gather all of his friends together to perform dramas. Day and night, they did nothing but have drama festivals. And they never rehearsed. They just did it. And all of their dramas were the pastimes of Krishna in his various incarnations. And Nityananda Prabhu was the producer, the director, was the script writer, but he didn't write the script, he just taught the script. And he was the leading actor and actress and everything. And everybody around, all the little children just wanted to make him happy, and he just wanted to make them happy, and everyone just wanted to make everyone happy. They didn't have cell phones to disturb the dramas. So it describes by Vrindavan Das Thakur just some of the dramas. They were endless. One little boy would take the role of Bhumi, Mother Earth, and she would appear in the form of a cow and pray to Brahma that there's so much exploitation and so much violence and so much greed and envy and anger in this world. Save me. And then Brahma would bring another little boy would be Brahma, and they'd all go to a little place, a little lake, and they would call that the ocean of milk. They all offered Purusha Shukta prayers, and then a voice would come from behind a tree of another boy saying, I will appear as Krishna. Then they changed the scene, and they got up like at midnight. And they made a place just like Kamsa's prison house. And a little boy, and it was Devaki and Vasudeva, and Krishna appeared. And Vasudeva would take Krishna across the river Yamuna and bring him to Gokul. And one little child would play Putana, and another would play little Gopal and liberate Putana. Then there was Shakatashura and Trinavarta. And they really played these games very realistically. Nitai would bring the children into the villagers' houses to steal their butter. It's quite realistic. And then they'd run away. Little Nitai and his friends, they lifted the Govardhan hill. Out of the leaves of trees, they made a replica of Kalia. They were dancing on him, and the Nagapakis. In this way they performed Krishna's beautiful pastimes. They had Ras Leela. And when they played the pastimes, they did it chronologically also. Of Akrura taking Krishna out of Vrindavan, Nityananda Prabhu played the role of a gopi. And even though it was just children playing these games, kind of like imitating, Nityananda was profusely crying in an inconsolable way. People were struck with wonder. He was so much feeling the pastime. He was actually manifesting these pastimes through his friends. And at the time, they were performing the Leelas of Vamana Dev and Narsingha Dev, all the different avatars. When they did Ram Leela, Nityananda told them that I'm going to be Lakshman. And he told one little child, you be Ravana, and you throw a javelin in my chest. And he gave him a lotus flower and said, throw it. So the boy was pretending to be Ravana. I am Ravana, I will kill you, Lakshman, threw a lotus flower. And it hit Nitai in the chest, and he fell unconscious and stopped breathing. His heart stopped beating. And the boys were like really, really in anxiety, and they were trying to bring him to consciousness, and he couldn't come to consciousness. And Hadai Pandit, Padmavati, all the adults, all the parents of the children, they all came running, and they saw Nitai laying there. They were trying to do everything to revive him, but nothing was successful. They were weeping, they were crying. They didn't know what to do. It appeared he was dead. They said, what happened? What happened? And one of the little boys said, I just threw a lotus flower. How could a lotus flower have such an effect? And then one boy said, oh, I remember. Nitai told us, after the lotus flower hits him, that the boy playing Hanuman should bring the Ganda mud in a mountain with the herb to cure him. So then the one boy said, yes, I'm supposed to be Hanuman. And he already had his script that Nitai gave him. He started running, and everybody was watching. Please save Nitai, please save. And this boy, little child, running as Hanuman, and he came to a place where there was a lake, and somebody came and said, oh, Hanuman, please eat some nice food. I can see you're hungry. And Hanuman said, I have no time to eat. I must save Lakshman. He's been hit by the javelin as Ravana. He said, no, you have some food, have some food. And he said, take a bath, please. And he insisted, and Hanuman went in the water, and then the boy assumed the form of a crocodile and started fighting with Hanuman. And Hanuman beat up the crocodile. And then other asuras started attacking Hanuman, and Hanuman defeated all of them. And then he picked up, some stones representing Gandamad in a mountain, and he came running back, and everybody was really, because this was life or death. If Hanuman didn't come, Nitai was dead. And Hanuman came back, and he put some herbs in front of Nitai's nose, and Nitai sat up and smiled. And someone asked, Nitai, you're just a child. How do you know all these pastimes of Krishna and all his incarnations so perfectly? You never heard these before. And Nitai unassumingly smiled again and said, "These are my pastimes." But nobody understood that he was actually revealing the truth. Because they loved him so much as a little child, they couldn't conceive that he was actually God. In this way, he spent his childhood. And his mother and father, Padmavati and Hadai Pandit, they loved him so dearly. Hadai Pandit couldn't tolerate a moment not seeing Nityananda Prabhu. He would practically bring him everywhere. If he went to do his seva, do some agricultural work in the fields, he would always be looking back at Nitai or bringing him with him. A moment without him was impossible to bear. And in the same way, Padmavati, her life and soul was just to see the beautiful moon-like face of Nitai, to give him happiness. Nityananda Prabhu, when he was about 12 years old, he was sitting under a tree and he roared. It was a supernatural roar. Nobody knew it was him roaring. The world heard this roar. Because that was the moment he knew that Lord Chaitanya had taken birth. And as Lord Balaram, in his heart, he was thinking, how will I ever leave my home to assist Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his mission of spreading Prema Bhakti, love of God, to the world? It's impossible for my mother and father to ever let me go. They're so attached to me. And similarly, all the people of Eka Chakra, they'll never give me permission to go. But I must travel on behalf of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he staged a wonderful pastime. By Nityananda Prabhu's own divine grace, a sannyasi came to Eka Chakra. This sannyasi came to the house of Hadai Pandit and Padmavati. He was such a pure-hearted soul. Hadai Pandit and Padmavati were pure devotees of the Lord. They were actually non-different than Vasudeva and Rohini. So they wanted to serve this sadhu. They served him so nicely. They just lived in a simple home. They offered him everything. And throughout the entire night, Hadai Pandit and Padmavati and this sadhu just discussed Krishna's pastimes in great happiness. And the next morning, Hadai Pandit, being so overwhelmed with gratitude and spiritual joy, he said to the sannyasi, "How could I serve you? I'll do anything for you." And the sadhu said, "I am on a pilgrimage. I will go to all the holy places throughout the length and breadth of Bharatvarsha, India. But I'm all alone. I require an assistant. Give me your eldest son, Nitai, to travel, and he'll get to see all the holy places, and I'll take care of him." It was like Indra's thunderbolt striking his soft heart. To give Nitai, He was just a child of about 12. To travel all around to all holy places. In those days, there wasn't planes or cars or buses or trains. It was all walking. And swamis, sadhus, the way they travel and what they eat and all that stuff, most parents would be very, very reluctant. Especially if you have, now those of you who are parents, or those of you who have parents, which I guess is everyone. What is your attachment to your favorite child? Multiply that by about 10 billion, quadrillion, trillion. And that's the love and attachment that Padmavati and Adai Pandit had for Nityananda. Because he's Krishna. He's the all-attractive one. He wasn't just attracting their minds. He wasn't just attracting their senses as a mother and father. He was drawing out the most intimate, fullest love from their very souls, their atmas. That was their love for him. But they were considering him to be completely dependent on their motherly and fatherly love. And our Nitai, when parents go away for some time and leave their child, they usually call the relatives, how is he or how is she? But when a sadhu takes your little baby, to Badrinath by walking, Kailash, Kanyakumari, and in those days, these places were forests and jungles with wild animals, and there was no internet or phone calls to check to see he's all right. It means he's gone without any communication, perhaps forever. That's what the sadhu was asking Adai Pandit. He was silent. He didn't know what to say. His mind was reeling. I can't give away Nitai. I can't do that. Either for me, or for Nitai, or for his mother, or for all the people of Ekachakra. I can't do it. But in those days, people had honor, especially somebody like Adai Pandit. He was thinking, but I can't not do it, because I'm trapped. I promised this sadhu that I would serve him according to his will. And now he's given me instruction. It will be the ruination of my life if I don't. So I'm dead if I do, and I'm dead if I don't. And then he remembered Maharaj Dasarath. When Vishwamitra Muni came to Ayodhya, he asked for Ram to go to the jungle with him. Adai Pandit understood that Dasarath was feeling the same exact thing that he's feeling now. But Dasarath, even if it meant his death, he had to give Ram to Vishwamitra. Because it is the principle of Dharma to keep your word, especially to a person of God. Adai Pandit went to Padmavati and told her the situation. He's asking for our Nitai. And Padmavati here, she was practically internally paralyzed by the thought of losing her child. And she said, my dear, whatever you decide is what I want. Hadai Pandit Padmavati came before the sadhu and said, you may take our Nitai. And they said, Nitai, please go travel with the sadhu. And Nitai was completely detached. It's not he was thinking, oh, why are you sending me away from home and all my friends and all the nice prasad you make me and the nice comfortable house and all your motherly and fatherly love. Nitai just did his pranams and walked away with the sadhu. Completely detached. His parents were thinking, who is it? What is he? He's just walking away. But the sadhu gave because he knew that Padmavati and Hadai Pandit were going to be in deep despair. So he gave them a small deity of Murlidhar, Krishna. And then he left. And Nitai just, without even looking back, just went with him very blissfully. That's when it really hit them. When they walked out the door, they were gone. Hadai Pandit collapsed, unconscious. Padmavati collapsed, unconscious. All the people of Ekachakra heard about it then. The news spread. They all ran to the house and they saw Hadai Pandit, Padmavati. Whenever they did come to consciousness, all they could do was cry. And as they cried, they sighed the name Nitai in this Virahabhav, the mood of deep love in separation. People of Ekachakra, they all had, all the adults of all the children, they all loved Nitai even more than they loved their own children. Is that possible? To love somebody else's child more than your own? Because Nitai is the Atma. He's the source of the soul within everyone. So everyone was weeping and crying. And some of the people and the little children, he was their best friend. Their whole lives were only to make him happy. Who were they going to do their dramas with anymore? So the whole town of Ekachakra was just one monsoon of weeping and crying the names of Nitai. And some of the citizens, they decided, we are going to find that sadhu. Wherever he is, we're going to find him. And we can't do anything to him because he's a sadhu. But we'll give him our children in exchange for Nitai. Said, yes, I'll give him my son. I'll give him all my sons. We'll give him all our sons. But just give us Nitai back. That was their resolve. And in all directions they were looking for the sadhu. But he was gone. So they all came back. And in their state, the pundits and the astrologers, they met together. What just happened? And they did all of their calculations and research of the Holy Scriptures and the planets and everything else. And they came to a firm conclusion that what our forefathers and foremothers have been telling us for so many generations, that Balaram would appear in Ekachakra, he did. He was Nityananda. That was him. That was the Supreme Lord Balaram, the first expansion of Krishna. the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead, and none of us recognized him, and now he's gone. How they lamented. The people of Ekachakra, they only live now to somehow or other try to pacify Hadai Pandit and Padmavati. For 3 months, Hadai Pandit and Padmavati did not eat any food. They had no appetite. All they did is cry and breathe. And just the remembrance of Nitai in their hearts kept them alive. But something very special happened. They stayed alive for just a few months more. And one of the things that kept them alive is that little deity of Murlidhar that was given by the sadhu. Every time Padmavati looked in the face of Krishna, she saw the face of Nitai. And she understood that my Nitai was Krishna himself, Balaram. And crying out the name Nitai Chand, Hadai Pandit and Padmavati gave up their mortal bodies and returned to the spiritual world, the eternal pastimes of Nityananda Prabhu. And after that, all the people of Ekachakra basically just left because they couldn't bear looking at every place they looked, they saw where Nitai performed his various pastimes. And it was just too much to see them in separation. Meanwhile, Nityananda Prabhu blissfully went on pilgrimage. And it describes all the places that he went. Incredible. Went everywhere. He went to Ayodhya. And in Ayodhya, he was remembering his pastimes as Lakshman. And he was crying in happiness, in his service to Ram. He went to Chitrakoot and saw the place where he made his little hut for Ram to live in. And all the he was remembering all those leelas. He went to the forest where Maharaj Guha performed seva to Ram by offering him everything, and he cried in ecstasy and love for his devotee Guha. In Ayodhya, he saw his own birthplace as Lakshman and the birthplace of his beloved Ram, and all the places of their pastimes there. He went to Prayag and bathed in the confluence of the Yamuna, Ganga, Saraswati. He went to Mathura and Vrindavan, where he was totally immersed in the mood of a cowherd boy. And he would play with all the Brijavasi children, enacting the dramas of Krishna's life. Bathing in Yamuna and crying in ecstasy. He went to Hastinapur, where he remembered the pastimes of the Pandavas and the episodes of Mahabharata. He went to Badrigashram, where he was witnessing the pastimes of Narayan Rishi. He went to all the various holy places in the Himalayas, Haridwar. He went to the Gangotri, Yamunotri. He came down all the way to Kanyakumari. He went to the Malaya Hills. When he was in Jagannath Puri, he stayed for some time. And every time he would see Lord Jagannath, he would swoon in ecstasy and loudly chant the holy name. He went to Pandharpur, Kolhapur, Nasik. He came to Mumbai, even though it wasn't called Mumbai in those days. Vipayani it was called. He traveled and was always on pilgrimage. And somewhere in the western provinces, perhaps near Udupi, he met with Madhavendra Puri. It describes, I think it was in Bandrapur, yes, where he met Lakshmipati Tirtha. That's a beautiful story, which is explained in the Bhakti Ratnakar. He was living in the house of a Brahmin. And at that time, Lakshmipati Tirtha, who was a great Acharya sannyasi in the line of Sripad Madhvacharya, of the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. And he was a pure devotee of Balaram. He stayed nearby. And one day, in a dream, Balaram appeared to Lakshmipati Tirtha and told him, tomorrow I am going to come to you in the form of a young Brahmin and you should give me initiation. So that was quite a wonderful dream. So the next day he woke up, and as soon as he woke up, Nityananda appeared and said, please give me initiation. And Lakshmipati Tirtha said, what mantra should I give you? And Nityananda said, give me this mantra. And he gave him, actually Balaram told him the night before, give him this mantra. And so he initiated. And he just fell in love with this Nityananda, but he didn't realize he was actually Balaram himself, his worshipable deity. He just loved him so dearly. And Nityananda served Lakshmipati Tirtha very nicely. And then, in another dream, Nityananda appeared to him and manifested his form of Balaram. Lakshmipati Tirtha understood his worshipable Lord has incarnated on earth and is now my disciple. And he was in so much ecstasy after that, he couldn't tell anybody about it. It was too confidential. He practically didn't say anything to anyone anymore. He just left that place, constantly immersed in hearing and chanting and remembering Lord Nityananda Balaram, and soon passed from the world. During his tour, Nityananda Prabhu met with Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was on a pilgrimage with Brahmananda Puri and Ishwara Puri and so many of his disciples. And it's described that Madhavendra Puri was traveling so many places, but there were practically no true lovers of Krishna anywhere. And for him, that was the only real association he was seeking, of someone who loved Krishna like him. And when he came across Nityananda Prabhu, as soon as they saw each other, they saw the ecstasies of love that was the only true purpose of living within this world. They embraced. And the other devotees were struck with wonder. Because as Madhavendra Puri, who was an elderly gentleman, was embracing Nityananda Prabhu, who was quite young still, both of them, tears poured like rivers from their eyes, and they bathed each other. Their hairs were standing erect. Their limbs were trembling. Their voices were so choked up, all they could do was say, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And they both, in each other's embrace, fell to the ground unconscious. And everybody around seeing the love that these two people had for each other, all the devotees were falling unconscious and crying. And then they saw Nityananda and Madhavendra Puri get up, and all they could do is speak like that. Madhavendra Puri couldn't even speak, actually. Nityananda Prabhu said, I have traveled to all the holy places everywhere, and now I have found the true holy place, the heart of Madhavendra Puri, where love of Krishna is truly dwelling. Krishna is within your heart. You are the source of all holy places.